Welcome to The Gentle Murmur of Rain in Green Leaves, a tranquil slice of life audiobook designed to help you unwind and drift into a restful sleep. If you find peace in these calming stories and would like to support our channel, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing for more sleep-inducing content. Before we begin Clara's gentle day in her rain-kissed cottage, we will guide you through a short breathing exercise to ease your mind and body. If you prefer to go directly to the story, you can find chapter timestamps in the video description below. Now, find a comfortable position, whether you're lying down or sitting. Allow your body to relax and release any tension. Feel the support of your bed or chair beneath you, letting go of any effort to hold yourself up. Perhaps adjust your blankets to find that perfect cozy warmth. This is your time to simply be, to let go of the day's demands, and to invite tranquility into your space. Let the gentle sounds of nature which echo throughout Clara's garden begin to soften your thoughts and guide you toward peaceful relaxation. Let's begin with a calming breath. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose, imagining you are drawing in the fresh, clean scent of rain-washed air. Hold that breath for a moment, noticing the gentle expansion in your chest and abdomen. Now exhale slowly through your mouth, like a soft sigh of contentment, releasing any tension you may be holding. As you breathe, imagine the soft patter of rain on leaves, a gentle rhythmic sound that washes away any stress or worry. Feel the weight of your limbs softening, your muscles relaxing with each exhale. If your mind wanders, and it naturally might, gently guide it back to the rhythm of your breath or the sound of my voice. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. Simply allow yourself to be present in this moment, enveloped by the soothing atmosphere of Clara's cottage and garden. Feel the quiet peace settling around you like a soft, comforting blanket. Now let's step into Clara's world and experience the gentle murmur of rain in green leaves, allowing it to carry you towards a peaceful and restful sleep. Chapter 1. Rain begins, softly at first. The first sound Clara registered upon waking was the faintest whisper against her bedroom window. It was a sound so subtle, so gentle, that for a moment she wasn't sure if she had imagined it. Lying still, nestled in the warmth of her duvet, she listened again. Yes, there it was, a soft, almost hesitant patter, like tiny fingers lightly drumming on the glass. Rain. A gentle smile touched her lips. Rain was always welcome in her garden and in her home. It brought a particular kind of quiet, a hushed stillness that settled over everything, both indoors and out. She stretched languidly, feeling the soft cotton of her pajamas against her skin, and then slowly sat up, pushing aside the duvet. The air in the room was cool and fresh, carrying a hint of dampness that promised a day of gentle rain. Padding softly to the window, Clara drew back the curtains. The garden was veiled in a delicate, silvery mist. Everything looked softened, muted, as if viewed through a watercolor wash. The leaves of the silver birch tree just outside her window shimmered with moisture, each droplet catching the pale morning light. The rose bushes, still heavy with summer blooms, drooped slightly, their petals glistening with tiny beads of water. The sound of the rain was a little louder now, a steady, soft patter that filled the air with a calming rhythm. It wasn't a heavy downpour, not yet, but a gentle, persistent rain that promised to linger for a while. Clara watched as a few early birds hopped tentatively on the lawn, their feathers already ruffled by the dampness, searching for breakfast amongst the rain-kissed grass. Even the birds seemed to move with a quiet gentleness this morning, as if respecting the peaceful hush the rain had brought. Turning away from the window, Clara moved towards her small kitchen, the soft creak of the wooden floorboards beneath her bare feet, the only sound besides the rain. The kitchen was bathed in a soft, diffused light, the gray sky outside filtering the morning sun into a gentle glow. She filled the kettle and placed it on the stove, the quiet whoosh of the gas igniting a comforting sound in the stillness. While the kettle heated, Clara chose a tin of chamomile tea from the shelf, the delicate floral scent already filling the air as she opened it. Chamomile seemed the perfect choice for a rainy morning, its gentle, soothing aroma perfectly complementing the quiet atmosphere. She selected her favorite mug, a simple ceramic one with a pale blue glaze, and placed a tea bag inside, ready for the hot water. As the kettle whistled softly, Clara poured the steaming water into her mug, watching as the tea bag unfurled, releasing its fragrant essence. She carried the mug back to the window, settling into her armchair, drawing a soft, knitted throw around her shoulders. The warmth of the mug in her hands was comforting, grounding her in the present moment as she gazed out at the rain-kissed garden. The rain continued to fall, a gentle, steady murmur that seemed to wash away any lingering thoughts or worries. Clara inhaled the fragrant steam from her tea, the chamomile scent filling her senses, and took a slow, deliberate sip. The warm, slightly sweet liquid soothed her throat, and a feeling of quiet contentment settled within her. This was the perfect way to begin a rainy day, she thought. Simply being present, watching the rain, and savoring the simple pleasure of a warm cup of tea. The world outside, veiled in mist and rain, seemed to slow down, to quiet itself, mirroring the peaceful stillness growing within her own heart. Chapter 2. The Garden in the Rain. From the comfort of her armchair, Clara continued to observe her garden as the rain deepened. The gentle patter had become a steady murmur, a continuous soothing sound that filled the air. The garden, under this soft veil of rain, was transforming before her eyes, each element taking on a new and subtle beauty. The rose petals, earlier just glistening with droplets, were now heavy with rain. Their delicate colors deepened and intensified. The pale pinks and soft yellows seemed to glow against the gray backdrop, their fragrances usually light and airy, now grounded and earthy, mingling with the scent of damp soil and rain-soaked leaves. Clara watched as a droplet, swollen with rain, trembled on the edge of a crimson petal before finally succumbing to gravity, falling with a soft plink onto a leaf below. The ferns, always a vibrant green, seemed to unfurl even further in the rain, their fronds becoming a deeper, richer shade. They drank in the moisture, their delicate forms swaying gently in the soft breeze that had begun to stir, adding a subtle rustling sound to the symphony of rain. The hydrangea bushes, with their large, rounded blooms, were particularly captivating in the rain. Each petal acted as a tiny cup, collecting droplets of water, making the flower heads appear like delicate, bejeweled spheres. Clara's gaze drifted to the silver birch tree, its slender branches now swaying more rhythmically in the breeze. The silver bark, usually shimmering in the sunlight, was muted and softened by the rain, taking on a more subtle, pearlescent sheen. The leaves, constantly in motion, danced and twirled, creating a mesmerizing watery pattern against the gray sky. She noticed a robin, a splash of bright red against the muted greens and grays of the garden, had taken shelter beneath a large hydrangea leaf. Its feathers were ruffled and it huddled close to the stem, patiently waiting out the heavier rain. Clara felt a pang of empathy for the small bird, seeking refuge in the downpour, and a sense of shared quietude in their mutual appreciation for the garden's shelter. The rain intensified slightly, the murmur deepening into a steady rhythm, a comforting drumming on the roof and against the window panes. Inside, the sound was muffled, creating a cozy sense of enclosure. Clara took another sip of her now cooled tea, the chamomile scent still lingering faintly in the air. The warmth of the throw around her shoulders was comforting against the cool, damp air outside. She leaned back into the armchair, closing her eyes for a moment, simply listening to the rain. It was a complex soundscape, a layered symphony of pattering, murmuring, rustling and drumming, each element blending together to create a deeply soothing whole. It was a sound that seemed to slow down time, to quiet the mind, to invite a state of peaceful contemplation. Opening her eyes again, Clara watched as the rain continued to transform her garden, each droplet adding to the sense of quiet wonder. The world outside, veiled in rain and mist, felt distant, removed, creating a sense of peaceful isolation within her cozy cottage. And in that gentle solitude, surrounded by the murmuring rain and the transformed beauty of her garden, Clara found a profound sense of calm and contentment, a quiet joy in the simple act of observing the world around her, rain or shine. Chapter 3. Inside, Warmth and Pages. As the rain continued its gentle symphony outside, Clara decided to move away from the window, drawn by the promise of warmth and the quiet companionship of books. She rose from her armchair, stretching languidly, and moved towards the fireplace in the corner of the room. Although it wasn't cold, the idea of a fire was appealing, a source of visual warmth and gentle crackling sounds to complement the rain outside. She gathered a few logs from the basket beside the hearth, the dry wood smelling faintly of pine and smoke. Arranging them carefully in the fireplace, she struck a match and held it to the kindling. Slowly, tentatively, a flame flickered to life, then grew stronger, licking at the dry wood, its gentle warmth beginning to radiate outwards. The soft crackling and popping of the burning wood joined the murmur of the rain, adding another layer to the comforting soundscape of the cottage. With the fire gently blazing, Clara settled back into her armchair, this time with a soft woolen blanket draped over her lap. She reached for her book of poetry, a well-loved volume with pages softened and worn from years of reading. The scent of aged paper and leather rose from the book as she opened it, a familiar and comforting aroma. She turned to a page marked with a pressed lavender sprig, a poem about nature and quiet contemplation. The soft light from a nearby lamp cast a warm glow on the pages, illuminating the delicate script and the faded ink. She began to read, her voice a soft murmur in the quiet room, the rhythm of the words blending with the crackling of the fire and the patter of the rain. The poem spoke of the quiet meadows and whispering trees, of gentle breezes and the soft murmur of streams. As she read, Clara felt her mind drifting into the imagery of the words, transported to peaceful landscapes bathed in soft light and gentle sounds. The verses resonated with her own sense of tranquility, her appreciation for the simple beauty of the natural world, even on a rainy day. She turned the pages slowly, savoring each poem, allowing the words to sink in, to resonate within her. The tactile experience of the paper between her fingers, the warmth of the fire on her face, the scent of chamomile tea still faintly lingering in the air, all combined to create a deeply comforting and sensory-rich experience. The outside world, with its gray skies and gentle rain, seemed far away, replaced by the quiet intimacy of her cozy cottage and the timeless wisdom of the poems. Time seemed to slow down, to stretch out in the gentle rhythm of reading and listening to the rain. Clara felt a deep sense of contentment in this quiet solitude, a peaceful acceptance of the present moment, just as it was. There was no need to rush, no need to do anything, just simply be. Surrounded by warmth, words, and the gentle murmur of rain. Closing the book for a moment, Clara leaned back in her armchair, letting her gaze drift to the dancing flames in the fireplace. The flickering light played on the walls, casting gentle shadows and creating a sense of movement and warmth in the room. The fire crackled softly, a comforting counterpoint to the steady rhythm of the rain outside. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for these simple pleasures, for the warmth of her home, the beauty of words, and the soothing sounds of nature, all conspiring to create a perfect moment of quiet peace. Chapter 4. Rain-kissed walk, breathing deeply. As the afternoon progressed, the rain softened, gradually easing from a steady murmur to a gentle drizzle. Peeking through the window, Clara noticed patches of lighter gray in the clouds, a hint of brighter sky pushing through. The garden, though still damp, seemed to breathe a little easier, the rain-soaked petals and leaves lifting slightly as the downpour lessened. An idea sparked within her, a walk in the garden. The air would be fresh and clean, washed clean by the rain, and the sense of wet earth and rain-soaked flowers would be even more intense. She decided to seize the moment, to venture out and experience the garden in its post-rain tranquility. Clara put on her raincoat, a soft olive-green garment, and pulled on her sturdy rubber boots. The raincoat felt slightly cool and smooth against her skin, and the boots were reassuringly solid as she stepped into them. Opening the back door, she stepped out onto the stone patio, taking a deep breath of the rain-washed air. The air was indeed wonderfully fresh, carrying the clean, earthy scent of damp soil and the subtle fragrances of rain-soaked roses and lavender. The garden paths glistened with moisture, reflecting the soft, diffused light like ribbons of silver. The colors of the flowers seemed even more vibrant against the gray sky, their petals sparkling with tiny droplets of water. As she walked along the garden path, the wet grass squelched softly beneath her boots, a pleasant, earthy sound. She paused to admire a cluster of vibrant purple pansies, their velvety petals still heavy with raindrops. Leaning closer, she inhaled their delicate, sweet fragrance, intensified by the dampness. The raindrops clinging to their petals shimmered like tiny jewels, catching the soft light. She continued her walk, meandering through the garden, taking in the sensory details all around her. The sound of dripping water droplets falling from leaves and branches was a constant, gentle music. The air felt cool and soft against her skin, and the ground beneath her feet was damp and yielding. She reached out to touch a fern frond, its surface cool and smooth, still laden with tiny droplets of water. Breathing deeply, Clara filled her lungs with the clean, rain-washed air, feeling a gentle sense of invigoration. The walk was slow and deliberate, a mindful exploration of her garden in its post-rain tranquility. There was a sense of peace and quietude that permeated everything, a stillness that seemed to amplify the subtle beauties of the natural world. She paused by the small pond in the corner of the garden, watching as raindrops still occasionally fell from the overhanging willow tree, creating gentle ripples on the water's surface. The water reflected the gray sky and the surrounding greenery, creating a mirror-like image that deepened the sense of tranquility. A water lily pad, glistening with droplets, floated serenely on the surface, undisturbed by the gentle rain. Continuing her walk, Clara felt a sense of connection to her garden, a shared experience of the rain and its aftermath. The garden seemed refreshed, renewed, and cleansed, and she felt a similar sense of inner cleansing and renewal within herself. The gentle walk, the fresh air, the sensory details of the rain-kissed garden all combined to create a moment of profound peace and quiet joy. A deep appreciation for the simple beauty of nature, even in the soft grayness of a rainy afternoon. Chapter 5. Rain ceases, evening calm. As evening approached, the rain finally ceased altogether. The clouds, which had blanketed the sky for most of the day, began to part, revealing glimpses of soft, diffused light. A gentle stillness settled over the garden, a profound quietude that followed the steady murmur of the rain. The world felt cleansed, refreshed, and imbued with a sense of peaceful calm. Clara, returning from her walk, felt a similar sense of inner peace and quietude. Her skin tingled slightly from the cool, fresh air, and her lungs felt full and clean. She removed her raincoat and boots, placing them neatly by the door, and stepped back into the warm embrace of her cottage. The air inside felt cozy and welcoming, a haven of warmth and tranquility after the dampness of the garden. She moved to the kitchen, the quiet sounds of her footsteps on the wooden floor echoing softly in the stillness. The late afternoon light filtering through the window cast long, gentle shadows across the room. She decided to prepare a simple supper, the quiet routines of cooking offering a comforting sense of grounding after the day of gentle rain. While preparing a light salad and warming some leftover soup, Clara listened to the sounds of the post-rain evening. The birds, silent during the heavier rain, had begun to sing again, their cheerful melodies filling the air with a renewed sense of life. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees outside, a soft whispering sound that replaced the steady murmur of the rain. She set the table for one, the quiet clinking of cutlery and plates a gentle counterpoint to the birdsong outside. Sitting down to her simple supper, she looked out the window once more. The garden was bathed in a soft, diffused light, the colors of the flowers and foliage seeming to glow with a subtle luminescence after the rain. The last droplets of rain still clung to the leaves and petals, catching the evening light like tiny diamonds. As she ate, slowly and mindfully, Clara watched as the garden settled into the quiet of twilight. The air grew cooler, and the light softened further, deepening the shadows and muting the colors. A sense of peaceful stillness descended, a quiet anticipation of the night to come. The rain was gone, but its gentle presence lingered in the damp earth, the glistening leaves, and the fresh, clean air. Finishing her supper, Clara cleared the table, the quiet routines of washing dishes and tidying the kitchen further grounding her in the present moment. She felt a deep sense of contentment, a quiet satisfaction with the simple rhythms of her day, punctuated by the gentle murmur of rain and the tranquil beauty of her garden. Returning to her armchair by the window, Clara watched as the last light faded from the sky and the garden slowly disappeared into the soft embrace of twilight. The evening was quiet, still, and filled with a profound sense of peace. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a world refreshed and renewed, and a heart filled with quiet gratitude for the simple, gentle wonders of everyday life. The gentle murmur of rain, though now silent, lingered in her memory, a soothing melody that echoed the peaceful stillness within her own soul.